Okay, we'll open up our Finance Personnel Committee meeting for July 17th. I guess we'll start off with you, Mallory, on personnel updates.
Sure. Pretty short updates here. This time of year, we're busy looking for people to hire. Our job fair has been advertised. We're having that next Thursday. It'll be from 9 to 11 here at the campus. We have more postings to come, so these are focusing on our non-teaching positions that we're trying to hire to prepare for the beginning of the school year. We also have our Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio joining us. They recruit and hire our teaching substitutes. So last year they've joined us now. Will be the third year. It's been very successful when they do come in person. That way teaching substitutes don't have to drive to Independence to complete their orientation and their paperwork. They can do it all right here in-house one day, knock it out. I think last year we hired about a dozen teaching substitutes at the job fair as well. So that was pretty good turnout, hoping for a similar turnout this year on all of our positions to get those filled.
Do they fill out applications right then and there? Like, not the teaching subs, the other folks that
They
are
do.
coming to the job fair?
Yep, so this year we were able to move our application from a paper, kind of cumbersome paper form. It's now through one of our electronic systems where we send our contracts, MySEView. So they click on a link, they fill out pretty much a PDF form.
While they're there?
Fillable, yep, we'll have them do that right at the door before they come in.
Oh, okay.
We have a nice system in place. Usually a number of staff in our central office kind of help out and get people where they are looking to be, talk to our hiring directors and some of our principals for the job openings.
And did they hire last year right on the spot?
We don't hire right on the spot. We go through the typical process, background check. We kind of talk them through what salary and pay look like, all of that. But I want to say we had around 30 people join us last year come to visit us, and we hired at least a dozen of them.
That's awesome.
So it's always been a really good event for us, kind of preparing last kind of push for the school year coming.
The more convenient you can make it for them,
Right.
usually the better results are.
When they talk with the people who they're going to work with directly too.
And who
Right.
are we what kind of people are we
What do
looking
we
for
have
right now?
posted?
Yeah,
So,
I'm just curious.
what we've advertised so far, we have classified positions, we have custodial openings, educational assistants, both full-time, supporting buildings and classrooms, part-time educational assistants, our lunchroom and playground. We're looking for study hall here at the campus. We have a library opening we will be posting. We do need some latchkey staff. Those are always some harder people to find. Those are morning hours and or afternoon hours, just a few hours a day, those split shifts. We do have 2 openings that I will be updating from transportation for operators. This was another update, but we'll hit it now. They went through their bidding process on Monday. So after everyone has kind of bidded what they want, they have 2 routes open for drivers, and we actually have 2 assistant positions in transportation open too.
So they bid for whatever routes they want.
Based on seniority.
And then you say you have 2 that are open that you're waiting for people to bid on.
Well, not waiting for people to bid on, these are now open to external candidates. They
Oh.
have been posted just as general openings, so now that I know what those route details are, we'll be updating those postings.
And we'll train for CDL.
Absolutely.
Will and pay.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Yes, we pay for all training, all licensure. Pretty much you just have to show up, be available, and want to do it.
Actually, I've had the vans too, so maybe we should post a van week as well, because I know we'll need a van operator at some point
Some routes.
for some part.
Okay, lots of openings.
I guess that'll, let me ask you, as far as that organizational chart you made up, all of those positions are then within that?
They are, nothing here is new. These are all just regular turnover vacancies that we typically see this time of year. Moving things around. The van operator, should we, prep and post one of those, that would be a new position, because now we have those vehicles available.
You don't need a CDL for the van.
No, you just need a van, certificate, which is a very simple certificate to get. It would significantly reduce some of our costs for some of our special needs
Yeah.
students.
And I know there's different levels of CDL, so for a bus, is that just kind of
It's
a...
called a Class B passenger transport, so it is a specific
Right.
licensure and a permit that they apply through in their training process.
Okay. All right, thanks.
And other positions that we have posted, we've seen a lot of activity on our tutors. So this could be title funding and or general funding. This is our extra support throughout all of our district buildings. The funding came in, the federal funding, Mr. Schlick has kind of let us know it's in a good spot right now, so we will be able to bring back the same number of tutors that we had last year. Depending on the size of the building, the numbers vary with what they were allocated for funding. Typically, it's between 2 and 4 tutors per building. I can tell you here at campus, I know we have 2, Lamouth has 3, and the elementaries, the smallers have 2 to 3, the largers have about 3 to 4.
What
Can these-
certifications do you need for that?
So this, we have, you could do it with a substitute license. We much prefer that we have a certified teaching person in those positions, especially on the title positions for those services.
The
So that's
federal
our
funded
preferred.
positions needs to be certified by.
But do they have to have a specific licensure?
They have to have a license for either reading or math for the grade level that they're in,
Okay.
so, that they're working with, so that's.
Can they do more than one subject?
They can do reading and or math, but they can only work with identified students. There are a lot of federal rules that follow that. The funding it's there. There's been some delays with not only the federal government, but then Ohio changed the way they're funding the form, so it's even worse. Usually
I'm
we-
on the agenda.
Yeah. So, but yeah, more to be about that, but it's.
So the good thing is the majority of our tutors that we have had that have had great performance, we've seen kind of some scores move a little bit. They are interested in returning. They'll be on the agenda, you'll see them. So we do actually have a few slots open and we'll be recruiting for those as well until school starts.
They are.
They're full-time, they're Riverside employees. It's a spread salary with benefits.
Yeah. It's an hourly spread.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it is it's a temporary 1-year position every year. Those get non-renewed and then
They
rehired.
are required to turn in a time and effort sheet based on
Right,
what they're
federal
doing
funding.
because it's what's federal funded versus what's out of the general
Right,
fund.
right.
Federal funding does not pay for them completely. but-
So I think I've hit a few of those board agenda items already. For looking at the personnel side, we do have a handful of certified recommendations. Again, just filling the positions that we had posted, I'd say May to July. A lot of these are just, we had teacher turnover. So filling those, we have been pretty successful in getting some interested candidates in for those good candidates coming in. So you'll see those recommendations along with the tutors.
We will have more, and since we're at a crunch of hiring, does it make sense on this agenda to put an addendum? Because if we have some openings that perhaps that come in and we get some sealed, we get some people who agree prior to the time to amend, you put a personnel amendment on there
Oh, at the table?
at the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to expect it, because this is that time when we're gonna have some things move quickly.
I'll have to look at the board meeting dates. I believe we do have a board meeting planned before school starts.
We do. I think
I think it's August 15th.
we do have one before school starts typically, but there's a lot of, I'm just thinking, there's a lot of openings.
There are.
There's some movement we're gonna talk about too, that's gonna be.
I thought we have August 14th is our board meeting.
Okay.
So,
And then just one fun fact for summer. I know you're all aware that we have the summer custodial staff running. I know that I've heard personally from the campus here that they are weeks ahead of where they typically are. Just that extra help is really awesome. In addition to that, with the construction we have going on in several buildings, the modular units coming in, just regular staffing changes. We're moving over 40 classrooms this summer. So in addition to regular cleaning, everything else that's happening, the maintenance crew, the custodial crew, and the technology staff are all involved in that process. And it's a huge undertaking. So just a little more behind the scenes of what's going on.
Very good. Anything else, personnel?
That is all that I have.
Okay. On that organizational chart for the maintenance department, are you going to update? Because I know there was a couple of positions that are not there now.
The
but then there's a new
facilities
one there.
coordinator position would just switch from the secretary. We're working on that posting. We'll be starting interviews for that next week. But I would say, closer to the start of school, I should be able to update that so it's more accurate once we have those positions filled.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
All right. Next item.
All right, board agenda review, as always, we'll have our monthly financial reports. Those will be as of June 30th. That's the end of our fiscal year. Couple things on the agenda. There's a furniture purchase for the Booth Middle School for art classroom. We typically budget $100,000 out of our permanent improvement fund each year for furniture, and since we go towards that budget. There's a purchase order for Rock the House for graduation for the 25-26 school year, so locking that in for next school year.
It's on a Thursday again, I believe, as it was this year. I think that's
I
what he
think
said.
so. 8/28.
With the rain date being
Whatever
Friday.
it is.
I thought that worked out well.
Yeah.
There's an addendum for the ESC Western Reserve, just for some summer physical therapy services that are already underway, as we typically board approve those amendments. Probably most of the services have already been performed. We have another one for Summit Educational Service Center for personalized learning consultant. This was previously through ESC Western Reserve, and now it's going through Summit County. So this has been an annual thing we've had now for, is this the second year for it, Melissa, or is it the third year? There's also an engagement letter on here for the Auditor State's Office Local Government Services. They're a division of the Auditor's Office that does our gap compilation for our financial statements each year. We account on a cash basis, and we have to convert that to accrual financial statements for audit. So they help us through that process, because it's a cumbersome project that we don't really have time for. And most districts contract for someone to do that. We've used them for the last, as long as I've been here. Certainly when Dr. Rock was here, he used them. Might have been.
I think Mike
Forever.
did it also there for a while.
And there's also a purchase order for Rosera, which is our communication badges that we have. So now there's an annual licensing fee for that. So that's on the agenda as well. I will be adding, there's what's called a G17 disclosure letter by RBC Capital Markets. So RBC is an underwriter that we've used they refinanced some of our bonds years ago, and they've been helping us with, they worked with Mike Priscilla with upcoming borrowing, what that looks like. Just as things move on, I figured I'd board approve it. Something that I would typically sign off on, but since I'm departing, and basically it's a letter that just says that every underwriter has to put out this disclosure letter. It says that they don't necessarily have to work in our best interest. They can work in their own best interest. That's why you have a municipal advisor, Mike Priscilla, because he has a fiduciary responsibility to the district. For RBC, they may not always do everything that's best for the district. They're an underwriter. Their fees are based on percentages, so they could encourage you to borrow more money and increase their own fees.
That's quite common in all kinds of industries.
Yeah. So they have to disclose that. If you read, it's like a 2-page
Mhm.
letter with definite, and then 6 pages of definitions, and it's
Right.
something that, it's a standard thing for all underwriters, but I just figured we'd board approve that, just so it's, with the transition coming up, with working with Mike Priscilla and RBC, we've been having an established relationship with them, and they've done a lot of work already, just preparing for the upcoming borrowing, so just having it kind of more formally acknowledged, that way it would continue going forward with that relationship.
Okay.
Have we voted to approve borrowing yet?
No, that would have to be a later point, and you'd have to have resolutions prepared by bond counsel for that, so it wouldn't go through Friends of McIntyre. It's either be a separate firm, just does more.
I think there's still a lot of information gathering needs to be done before we
Right.
get to that point.
Yeah, and that you have to know exactly your scope, exactly the amount and all that stuff, so it's certainly early in the process to
Right.
be doing that. Let's see. That's what's on the agenda for now. Might be an item or two added later. Just, there's always a few things that come through last minute. Fiscal year close, we closed out our books about a week ago or so. At the next regular meeting, I'll present where we ended up at the end of the fiscal year compared to what we forecasted in May. It's very close, so I'll just give the board an update at that point. No real surprises there. With the state budget update, I think at the last regular meeting, I provided projections on what our state funding would look like. 5-year forecast was updated to account for that. Governor DeWine vetoed several property tax, quote-unquote, reforms that's up for a veto override vote by the House on Monday, and the Senate's slated to meet on Tuesday to vote as well if it passes the House. The 3 items that are being considered for override are item 55, county budget commissions, authority and procedures, item 65, the 20 mil floor calculation, and item 66, school district property tax restrictions. I'll go backwards, it's easier to explain. Item 66, school district property tax restrictions, there was some restrictions on new emergency levies and substitute levies and those type of things. We haven't typically used those since, I think 2004 was our last emergency levy that was converted to substitutes. We don't really have anything new down the pipe that we were considering at this time anyways on those. So if that veto gets overridden, it doesn't, the only effect would be less flexibility going forward in what levies types can be considered. The 20 mil floor calculation, which is item 65, that would include emergency and substitute levies into the 20 mil floor calculation. Right now it's excluded. That would not lower anybody's taxes. That would only limit potential future growth. We have one substitute levy at 2.9 mils. So if that was counted towards the 20 mil floor, once values go up 10 to 12% again, we'd be on the 20 mil floor again, assuming there was no other levies.
Is that still considered a substitute levy even though it's continuous?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
A district like Willow East Lake, who has a lot of emergency levies, even then the taxes won't go down. It's more just limiting future growth, because they would no longer be on the 20 mil floor.
Future growth of the levy.
Yeah,
Of the
so like
dollars.
as values go up,
Uh-huh.
people's taxes won't go up. I mean, the inside millage would still continue to go up, but all the other voted levies would not cause an increase. The rates would continue to go down on those.
So we only have the one, so we're in a pretty decent position
Yeah.
at the moment.
If that law was in effect prior to this reappraisal, we would have hit the 20 mil floor anyways. We wouldn't have seen as much of an increase in our revenue from this, but we still would have hit the floor. We'd be on the floor right now anyways if that was already in place. And then the last thing, the county budget commission, it kind of clarifies authority for what the county budget commission can do, and they can choose to reduce our tax rates if they feel like we're over collecting taxes, which creates a whole can of worms because you have 88 counties and you'd have 88 different budget commissions that have 88 different opinions on what should be done, and there's concern about inconsistent enforcement, and there's also concerns about school districts that span over multiple counties. Now, we do have a small piece in Geauga County here, but there's other districts in the state that go over 3 or 4 counties. You have a home county, so like for us, Lake County is our home county, but you know, Geauga County is, I think, 100 parcels, so it's pretty small. But other districts are split a third in each county, and you know, one budget commission in one county could change the taxes for other counties, and it can get very convoluted in how that all.
Would that only apply to school district budgets or to county budgets also?
It's most tax densities. I'm not sure about the actual county per se, but they do review all the other taxing authorities, I believe.
But I think the law was only applied to school districts.
It might. I'm not quite. I haven't gotten too much into the weeds on that one, but there's concerns like that. Geauga County is kind of already doing this.
They've always done it.
and
They've
there's-
always made you sit in a meeting to review your appropriations in your budget, and, well, they never did that, though.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, some of what was not vetoed in the budget that's related to this item is the changing of the 5-year forecast. It is now present your current year plus 3 additional years. So basically turn it into a 4-year forecast instead of a 5-year forecast. And they changed the reporting dates.
So it's not current plus 2?
It's
It's
current
current
plus
plus
3.
3?
Yeah.
I thought it was 3 years. I thought it included.
At one point
current.
it was, I think, in a different, it might have been House Bill 335, or it might have been a different version.
Okay.
But that was my understanding, based on what I've heard, is it's now a current year plus 3 years, and they changed the deadlines. So the 5-year forecast this year is due October 15th instead of November 30th. And then next year, and I think that, and my understanding, this was done to give the Budget Commission time to meet, make their decision. If they change tax rates, gives the county auditor time to adjust things for, because taxes are based on calendar year and we work on a fiscal year, so that's also another whole nuance there. But after this year, next year, the 5-year forecast is due. Okay, so yeah, so this year the 5-year forecast is due October 15th, and then in the spring is due February 28th or 29th, depending if it's a leap year. Next year, the 5-year forecast will be due August 31st, which would be 1 month before we finalize our budget for the year. But we have to just file the forecast with the state.
February? Why February?
I don't know.
Short month.
So,
I wonder if that's because the budget commissions, I think, have to have their stuff done by February 15th.
so what's interesting is with a August 31st deadline, some counties in the state would not even have their property tax settlement, which is typically your largest item to project on your forecast. And so you'd be guessing what your revenue is.
We don't get ours. We get ours in September, a lot of them in September,
It's
don't we?
typically, you typically get it in August. It's most of the time, mid to late August.
I think August they come in September.
But you figured you gotta have it board approved, we have a finance committee, so you gotta have it, so you'd have to have your forecast done like the end of July or early August. You're not gonna have your settlement in by that time. And then in February, you're barely past the due date. You're not gonna have anything but an advance at that point. So they really made it.
And so in order to close out your books at the end of June, you're almost having to do another forecast just to make sure that you can clean things up.
You
That's
can
kind
do
of
them.
ridiculous.
Yeah. So that was one part that was not vetoed as part of the governor's vetoes, because I think it's just it was an oversight because that wasn't the big focus, it was more on the budget commission process.
So those are the requirements now.
So yeah, those are, yeah. Unless there's-
Could you summarize those and send those out in an email, just so that like the rest of us, so that we're all aware of like what the deadlines are? I'm not gonna remember that.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Maybe we'll put a Friday back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Now, there's potential for, every volume budget, there's always a correction bill because there's always things that get screwed up and then they go, oops, but we didn't intend to do that. So maybe they'll make it in that bill, but maybe not, but it will be after this fall's forecast due date of October 15th, so we all lost 45 days.
When does that correction come out?
Typically later in the calendar year will come out.
Sweet.
In my opinion too, and many others, is the shortening of the 5-year forecast was to hide financial troubles that would have been caused by property tax changes and budget commission influence. So they are not considering the 40% cash balance carryover provision that was in the budget, but at the same time, the county budget commission could decide to enforce that themselves. So I guess we'll see.
Do they have legal authority to do that? I know that they can do that for
They-
bond levies. I mean, they adjust the rate of the bond levies all the time to make sure that you're not collecting more
That's a
than you
county
have to
auditor
pay back.
function.
That's it, right, that's,
Yeah.
like,
And that's
that's always done.
Right, and they have to report we report our cash balance and our upcoming principal and interest payments to the county each year, and they adjust that tax rate accordingly, so you don't over collect on it, and, that's, it's not like you can do anything else with those funds, so it's, if you over collect one year, then they can under collect the next year
But they don't typically do that with general operating funds, and
Correct.
they've never had the authority to do that. They still don't really have the authority to do that outside of this extraneous budget committee process, correct?
Well, they will now, if the veto gets overrode, and then pretty much, like I said, 88 counties of 88 budget commissions, and they all have their own opinion of what they want to do, and you have
So
to-
some counties can see property tax quote reductions, and some residents in the state will not.
Correct. And you have, one of their challenges is, the state's always been a state of local control. You have an elected school board that oversees the financials of the district. The budget commission is your county auditor, your county treasurer, your county prosecutor, and they pretty much would be they'd have the control on top of everybody to.
Weren't they
maintain-
gonna remove the prosecutor from that?
There was a point they were gonna remove the prosecutor and make it the president of the county commissioners. I think it's just that.
That,
still
that got
possible.
removed in
Did
one of
it?
the.
So it's going to become politically skewed, because all of those are party positions for the
Could
most
be,
part.
yeah.
So
That was a concern
depending
of-
on which county you're in and which party controls, quote, your county, could affect school funding. Yeah. Okay.
There's also the local amendment, or the amendment to remove all property taxes that is gaining momentum and will be on a soon upcoming election.
Probably November of '26.
Could be, and that is problematic, because there's no solutions, it's just, we're not.
Well, I guess we need to start preparing to see what our alternatives are.
That is very, we need to have some reform, there's no doubt, but that's problematic.
I was thinking about it too, you have all these, many districts have a voted bond issue, that they issue debt, levy collects to pay that debt, all those levies go away.
Right, how do we make our
How
debt?
many
Well,
districts are gonna default?
Those
on
RIDs
their
and
debt?
TIFs, all of that, all that infrastructure that's in place, it's significantly problematic as to what the fallout could be.
And when you think about it, so if you convert, let's say if property taxes go away and you convert to a school district income tax, because that's pretty much our only other option to, we can charge school fees and, small things like that, but that would never be able to raise enough money to, we can't charge tuition. So our only other option really is school district income tax. That only falls on residents, it doesn't fall on businesses. So
let me ask a question. So our budget is what, 50 to 60 million?
Yeah, approximately.
And
a little
so
60.
we, I don't know off the top of my head, what is the income of our district? I guess.
You did that
Earned
for us
income.
once. You had it in a file, and I have it in my other bag.
Just going off memory, it would probably be a 2.5% income tax, maybe 3% income tax would.
Wouldn't that be a much better deal for the people?
You don't capitalize on the businesses in your districts, and some of those as well.
It works differently than a municipal income tax, was only on the residents, so it would convert, so basically now your businesses would be tax-free, and it would fall on the residents.
But
It's usually an earnings tax.
Yeah.
It's better
You
for
can do it-
seniors. I think that's why we've talked
There's two
about
kinds.
it in the
There's a
past, right?
traditional
Like
and
there's
there's a-
traditional and
there's
there's
a
earned income. And
yeah,
most of them have
it's
earned
essentially
income.
on earned income. So let me just say, if you had $100,000 in earned income, and it was a 2.5% income tax, that's $2,500, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that a lot cheaper than a lot of these property taxes people are paying?
Well,
It's really
okay,
a better
but
deal
in a
for them.
township like Concord, what are they going to do?
Right.
We rely on property taxes for police, fire, city services. That doesn't, if I'm gonna pay 3% to the school, it kind of is a wash based on my property tax and what I pay through my property tax for the school, right? Like it's one for one. What are the other
Right.
ones gonna do? They're gonna charge, it's gonna be the same. It's very comparable.
Yeah. And you're gonna have winners and losers, and
Right.
some will.
With everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
And in order to replace our district budget, which really isn't just our property taxes, it's our property taxes plus our bond levies, plus our PI fund, it's all of that combined, we'd be charging a significant percentage, and then there is no reciprocal tax. So if I work in Euclid, I'm gonna pay 2.85% to Euclid, and I'm also gonna pay here. There's no reciprocation because it's not city income tax.
all of that to be explored.
Yeah.
It's a very challenging
Mhm.
issue that's up there.
Federal grant update, I don't know if you want to tackle this one since you've been a little more working with it than I am.
I'll try to keep it a little high level, but we already kind of started going down that road. So there's kind of two pieces to this. There's one from the federal level. We found out on June 30th, so our grants start July 1st, that there's a number of grants being frozen. Originally indicated we were going to have those funds, and now we aren't. So in our case, Title II, Title IV, and Title III.
Do we get a lot of money? We don't, they're not significant here, are they? Title I is our big one.
Yeah, I mean.
We use two. Two is pretty significant. We started to pay some salaries out of two because
That's
of
about
professional development.
106,000 a year.
Title II?
Two. Title IV is around 35, and then Title III is around 24. But each one of those is used for whether, a lot of it's PD that we have. There's some of the salaries for like our academic coaches, a lot of just like support services that we have that go through. So right now, state was kind of in a flux of, we don't know what to tell you. Like I said, Title I was okayed, IDEA, which is special ed, is okayed. The state also ran into a little bit of an issue because they also were changing how they were doing their consolidated application, which made a whole bit of a mess as well.
We're getting rid of CCIP, and they're switching to one plan.
One plan, and
And
the
it's-
combination of the
When?
two.
July 1st.
July 1st.
One
Yeah,
big mess.
it's
It's
already
one big
actually
mess.
happened, which is why this is, one big mess.
ODE even said, we had our on-site review a few months ago, and one of the people from ODE says, this is gonna be a disaster. They say what they said, and they were not
It's been,
lying.
Actually, they were being optimistic when they said disaster.
That could hold your funding even when they release these funds. All that mess could typically, like,
They've turned off all the errors just so people could submit Title I.
but that could affect you all the way into January, February next year, because we had the same issue when they changed the Medicaid, Ohio Medicaid last year, and it took all the way through December to January before they actually started releasing funds that we could get our money. So it's problematic.
So one thing that just literally came out yesterday was, and it's, I think, kind of to help them at the state level with the software piece, but also to help districts that have frozen funds. Normally, like FY25 grants, you cannot obligate anything past June 30th, and then you have to spend it down by September. They've now opened it that you can obligate FY25 grant funds through the end of September, and then you can, then you have to spend it down by the end of December. So it gives you more time to be able to actually make use of those funds with any carryover that you may have potentially had, instead of it going into FY26, which allows them not to potentially have to worry about taking carryover from one system into another as well. So it kind of serves two purposes, but it kind of doesn't handcuff us as much because we do have a lot, like I said, PD that goes through. There's a number of things that we were going to have at the beginning of the school year that we're kind of trying to figure out how we're going to pay for.
So can we pay for it out of general and then reimburse us from?
So right now, at least how it's set up, with us being able to go out through the end of September with FY25 funds, we have some money that's there that will cover us for those things through the end of September.
Or will we just encumber our funds in the grant funds for 26 and then reimburse or reclass it later if necessary?
That's what we're still waiting to hear, is because normally you have to have, an approved date in the system. Well, you don't have one because it's not letting you do any work in the new system. So normally it's the superintendent, once they sign off, you got your substantially approved date. Well, right now we don't have anything, so I'm not sure how they're gonna work that between anything after basically October 1st. So
I would think they'd have something figured out or some guidance by then.
I would hope, but
I hope.
given that they told us the day before, on
Yeah.
June 30th, this is what's going on.
Fortunately for us, the federal funding's not that substantial compared to our neighbors at Painesville City, where that's a big deal. So, I mean, for us, if we don't get the funds, it's not going to kill us.
What do 2,
But-
3, and 5 cover? Like,
So, 3 is,
One of them
English
was rural
language.
funding.
Three is
and-
English language and 4 is the kind of catch-all.
Yeah.
So it's safety,
Student
security,
wellness,
technology,
yeah.
student wellness. It's all the
Yeah.
We
unfunded
use all
federal
of that to
mandates.
go to Crossroads, I think, don't we,
There
Mike?
was that.
A good portion of that. There's some
We have technology
Yeah,
stuff that
money.
goes through there. A lot of it's PD, and then, like I said, Title II is mostly professional development. and then
But
professional
what is it supposed to cover? Like what populations?
The Title III is the English language
Okay.
learners. Title II and IV
Aren't specific.
aren't specific. It's, 4 is geared towards trying to get, students like wellness, safety, so there's not specific.
I wrote down 5, so it's 4.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Title I is the one that's geared towards.
But what's 2?
2 is mostly professional
Professional
development.
development. I don't think it's geared towards
It's not geared toward
kids.
like a specific
Yeah.
group
Oh.
of kids.
Okay. I thought they were holding up rural funding and.
There's a couple other
They are.
grants
There's
Yeah,
some
outside
so
of
those
that.
are outside of things
Yeah,
that we are. we
there's
don't-
about 3 others that we do not get that we're being held
There's no holdup in state funds, the state grants?
No,
Not that I'm aware of.
our state funding, they've,
Yeah, it's minimal, but,
they're phasing, the fair school fundings continue to phase in, so the percentages went up this year. Those are already in our state foundation payments have already been updated. And in October is with the final updates for like transportation funding and those couple of things, so those.
but the other fund, like the other grants that we get, the 400s?
The only grant we get is the connectivity fund, that's, I think it's just like 10 to 11,000 a year just towards our internet access. That's the only regular state
Oh, that's
grant
all?
we get.
Okay.
There was the federal E-rate has been in question. I don't know, I haven't seen where they landed with that, but I know that was one that they talked about. Are they gonna continue that? And that's a significant savings for us
Mhm.
Yeah.
if they stop the E-rate program.
I'll make the last agenda item real quick, and then we have an exec session here at the end, so we'll make sure we leave time for that. Treasurer transition. So a couple years ago, a law was put into place that school district treasurers have to prepare what's called a certificate of transition document. And basically, it's a document that I document where's our bank accounts, who are our contact, what accounting system we use, what purchase order system we use, any type of relevant information, where's access at, who's able to access what, and that way the person that comes in after is not trying to figure out all these things. We'll have a nice document in one place of all the, here's who I need to talk to get set up on the bank account, here's who I need to talk to, here's our municipal advisor, here's our 5-year forecast consultant, here's just all that information, so they, stuff that I have right in my head that I don't even think about, that
Gotta put on paper now.
you gotta put it on paper to make sure the next person knows where to go, and where's the files at, if they need to find documents that I've been using.
Right.
Typically use the same spreadsheet for each year, and things like that, so. That'll also be prepared, so that would be ready to go, here by the end of July.
Thank you.
The first thing he's gonna have to do is get us our appropriations for next year, correct?
Correct.
Which are September
September 30th.
30th? Which will have to be amended once we understand grant funding.
Yeah. Which is common to,
Yeah.
because we never really ever carry over
Right.
amounts, so we have an estimate. It gets adjusted later. And they always like to, it seems like as soon as you get it and figure it out, then ODE goes, hey, we had a few extra bucks we gave to everybody. It's like, hey, they gave us $20 extra for this grant, now we gotta adjust our appropriation.
Yeah.
So it creates a whole lot more work.
Okay.
Last thing on the agenda is doing an exec session for personnel matters related to employment, and compensation.
Okay, I guess we'll move to that session.
This was at the request of